the next speaker is going to be Skip Sheen, and we'll get him up to the stage now. Skip is a friend of Trade Ideas. He actually helped us install our first lead magnet, the Trade of the Week lead magnet, which is still producing over 500 leads a week. And he has a really great lesson in store for you guys. Pay attention.
Thanks. Morning. What I wanted to do today is I was talking with Scott about coming out and speaking to you all is to try to do something where I assume that all of you know how to bring in leads into your databases, grow your email lists and that kind of thing. You've got, whether it be advertising based or swaps that you're doing or just organic, whatever it is, you've got something that is already growing your email list. That if that's not the case, then certainly we can talk and help about that stuff too. But what I wanted to do was say, what then? You know, after you've gotten those emails, what can you do to turn those people into paying subscribers of yours, introduce them to Trade Ideas, introduce them to whatever it is that is your business model next? Because more often than not, as a marketing consultant, I run into clients who are doing a pretty decent job of attracting leads and are doing what they can to introduce them to their products and things like that, but there's this gap in the middle of how they are doing things. And so what I want to do today is just take you through one idea of something you could do to get those people engaged and to understand your business better, okay? So quick background on me. I've been running 16 Wells, which is my company, for the last 7 years. Before that, I spent about 10 years in online brokerages. I was the head of marketing at Trade Monster, ran business development at Options Express. I was a product manager for options and futures at E-Trade. And before that, I spent about 10 years in different management consulting roles while I did my MBA at University of Chicago and all that kind of stuff. What 16 Wells is all about is really just helping people like you grow your businesses. Whether it be from lead generation stuff, helping develop product, web design development for conversion instead of just making it look pretty, you know, all that kind of stuff. And really my clientele is about, based on the revenue I've had since 2011, about 80–90% financial companies in one way, shape, or form. I'm a Google certified AdWords agency partner. I also do an absolute ton of Facebook advertising, typically about 6 figures a month in terms of monthly client spend. Active Campaign is something I'll be talking about a lot today because it's what I've really been using a lot in email delivery systems. It's essentially, it's a lot like Infusionsoft, but the UI and the UX is a lot better, a lot easier to use. So that's a little bit about me. Now let's get back on the stuff that'll actually be interesting to you, which is how is it that we're going to get somebody to be more engaged with your business and be a paying subscriber sooner, okay? So if there's essentially 3 different steps that you've got of a problem here, the first set of it is really just how do you generate that lead to begin with? How do you get somebody interested in signing up for your email list and all that kind of thing? And nearly everybody I run into does some variety of a decent job of doing that. You know, it might be because of, as we said, those affiliate swaps that you might be doing. You might be doing some amount of online advertising, having lead magnets, whether they be ebooks or videos or checklists or whatever it might be. Trade of the Week is a good example of that. And then once you've gotten that lead in, you need to cultivate these people. You know, if you aren't doing something like that, you've got to turn them into a prospect by engaging with them and explaining what it is that's your company's value proposition, explaining to them what your product ladder is so they know what to expect in terms of where things are going with you. And then having some cornerstone content is really just a term that refers to maybe the 5 or 10 most popular posts on your website, or things that discuss what sort of aspects you might have that can explain to somebody better than a sales page could where you provide value to people, okay? And then escalation is after you've gotten that first purchase, moving them up the ladder to the next one and getting them to be a long-term customer. And that's where you can really increase your lifetime value of a customer. What I see more often than not is companies not even doing that at all. Like they just let that happen kind of by accident. They figure if I just keep delivering the product that they bought first, well, they'll eventually figure out how to buy the next thing, or I'll have a webinar, and there's not really a path that you're giving somebody. There's not a hopscotch board that they're jumping from square to square. And what I'm challenging you all to do is to try to create that path and make it more visible to the people who are in your database. They will like you more when you do, because they want to know what to expect next. Okay. Let's see. So as we dive in and try to, figure out this challenge and debug it a little bit, we're going to be looking at acquiring the audience, but then really this middle part is what we're going to spend most of the rest of today talking about, that first 30 days that somebody is new in your database. Okay, how do you consistently engage them in the same way so that, number one, it becomes measurable, and then number two, you can figure out how to do it better. Okay, and the real reason that we're trying to do all of this is to increase conversion. If you're doing something the same way every time and it's your best way of bringing somebody in, you're giving yourself the best odds of success. That's where you can take your conversion rates from the general public coming into your database from low single-digit percentages up into 10+% of the time. And that's really where your revenue, your profitability, everything else can explode, and you can really have a lot more fun doing what you're already doing. Okay, so how do we engage every lead the same way every single time? Okay. What I am going to challenge you to do is go home this week and put in 3 emails. Okay, if you put these 3 emails in place, when we've put these in for clients, most of the time their sales have doubled, literally, in a pretty short period of time, almost always in under a year. Okay, how can 3 emails do that? Well, it's really just that people want to know what's going to happen. And if you are more predictable, you are more understandable and clear, that comes through not only in them understanding your products better, but the transparency you're giving them makes you more trustworthy, makes you somebody that they can rely on. You're making promises to them and then you're keeping them. This is all the stuff that psychologically you need to have somebody feel in order to be willing to pull out that wallet. Okay, so how do we do that? First thing we're going to do is we're just going to welcome them to your database. Hi, nice to meet you. My name is Skip. It's great to have you here. It's a pretty innocuous email, okay? But it gives people context. At the same time, you will probably be delivering a lead magnet that they signed up for. You might have some kind of a launch going on or that kind of a thing that you're going to be inviting them to, but you send this at the same time as soon as they opt in for the first time to anything in your database, okay? The second step is one of 2 different things, the best of and the bonding campaign. Which one you choose there really depends on your own business. If you are a constant creator of content, if you're writing something about the markets every day, if you're writing something about what's happening with trades that are open or macroeconomics or whatever it might be that's your hook, the best of campaign is sort of saying, here's some of the stuff that my best customers say they really love. The most read posts on your website, the most engaged with posts on your blog. Whatever it happens to be, you take some of these things and yeah, those posts that you're showing them absolutely should show the value of what you're going to be selling them to. But it's not a sales pitch. It's really just trying to give them something of value measured usually from your Google Analytics or something like that to say, this is stuff that people keep going back and reading. So let's, instead of waiting for them to find it, let's push it to them. Okay, let's say here's something that everybody who comes here wants to know this. Okay, when you go into Cheesecake Factory or something, what do they have there? They got a big case of cheesecakes right in front, so you can see them and say, don't you want to get fatter? Don't you want to have dessert? And so doing that, trying to take your best foot and put it forward, is something that draws people in a little further. Okay. The bonding campaign is if you happen to not be somebody who is a content generation machine. That's something where you just try to open up a little bit more and tell something about yourself that's unique and help frame your business and its relevance to those people. And then as a bonus, I'm putting another email in there of how can I help, which a little bit later on, after you've done these first 2 emails, you wait a couple of days, and then this comes as a very personal email, not from your company, but from you. Okay, and that's something where you just say, hey, I'm really glad you're here. I saw you signed up last week. Just want to know, what can I do to help you? What are you struggling with? What made you find us? And you will get some fantastic feedback from people, first of all, as to what it is that they really are looking for. That can be a great help to you as it comes to, number one, how you describe your own products to future prospects. But it also can be something where it can lead to a much faster conversion to higher level sales, because it's really creating that relationship of I'm here to help you. Okay? Yeah, go ahead.
Do you have an optimal time frame for the how can I help? A week, 10 days?
I do. And it is, let's see if it'll do it. It's going to run less than a week. Okay? Best case scenario, probably 3 to 5 days. And you might, it really depends on how many actual emails you put in this sequence. Several of those steps might have 2 different emails happening. And I think the first thing, and Tim from After Offers and I were talking about this just this morning, is you can probably email people in your database far more often than you are. Okay, there's a lot of sitting back and thinking, I can't overdo this, I can't be spamming people and sending them messages all the time. Most of the time when somebody is signing up for a lead magnet, they are not using the email that they read every single email. They're putting in a secondary Gmail address or something like that, and it's something that they might check a couple of times a week. But if you don't have something in that inbox, probably every single day, especially at first, it's going to be very hard to get somebody engaged. So, yeah, Dan.
Skip, maybe something that would be good for the affiliates to hear is what would you suggest as the beginning affiliate stack? Because when you had mentioned that you assumed everybody collects the databases and then sends emails, maybe there's some questions like, well, what if you are just getting started? How do you send, let's say, the first mass email, or mass meaning multiple, whatever it is? Maybe you could help them at the very, very foundational level of just some high-level stack software to use for the beginning.
Okay. What I'll do is I'll say that what I'm going through in this is just that green box there right after you get somebody in. There's a couple of things that you need to have to make this really work, okay? The first is you need to have a website that you can put some forms on for somebody to sign up with, okay? That, ideally, you want to have 2 or 3 different offers that would be going at the same time, okay, to try to tell you something different about those customers. Are they looking for software for trading? Are they looking for commentary and trade, specific alerts that they can take action on? Are they looking for education and involvement that will help them move up the chain? It could be a lot of different things. But with the offers you're making, you want that to be segmenting your list as they come in. That I know that if somebody comes in looking for education, that's a different type of a person than somebody who is looking for a software solution, okay?
Is that automatic?
It's not automatic. If, for example, you're using a MailChimp account for your list, okay? Number one, you could do it just by having different lists and things like that. part of the reason that I've gone with ActiveCampaign, although Infusionsoft and other platforms can do this, is that they can apply tags as people come in. Okay, and you can, instead of it being like they've got to be in a specific bucket, as they engage with both your website, as they engage with your emails, as they do other things, you can apply an attribute to each contact individually as they do stuff. So if they spend, if they visit your product page 8 times, that might be a trigger where you're like, okay, if somebody keeps coming back to the product page and they haven't bought, then I want to send them this email that says, hey, I see you keep looking at this thing. How about this coupon? Here's 10% off if you sign up right now, or we'll give you this other thing. And being able to do that works with platforms that are more sophisticated like ActiveCampaign, because they'll put a tracking script on your website in addition to the tracking that everybody does inside of their emails that they're delivering for you. Just knowing that somebody opened or clicked the email is good data. Okay, but it's not everything you want to have. You also want to know, once they clicked, what did they do? Okay, and if you can tie all of that together and do it in a rational way, now instead of me trying to talk to all of you as a group, I'm just talking to Mike. I'm just talking to Dan for exactly what they're looking for right now. And when you get to that level of kind of individual segmentation, that's really when your conversion rates can start to go up, because people will essentially be having the reaction of, it's like they're just talking to me. They know exactly what it almost is like they anticipated what my needs were before I even told them. That's really what you want to have, is something that isn't just sending email to thousands of people, but it's sending the right email to each person in your database at the right time, okay? I'm not going to go through this whole map here, but the idea I want to leave you with, and the reason I put this up here, is that while we're going to talk just about the indoctrination today, there is a similar sort of a series that we've worked up for every step of the life cycle here. Okay, and if you want to go through this, just send me an email afterwards. I've got my contact info at the end, and we'll take care of helping you with any and all of these pieces that you're interested in implementing. Okay, so Jane, you anticipated this. What we're trying to do is take that first 3 to 5 days of somebody being in the database and bring them along to the point where they can really understand what you're doing. So I'm going to keep coming back to this just to show you exactly where we are. We're going to start on what I call day 0 with the perfect welcome email. Okay, day 0 is just the day that they join the list. And then we'll go through these first 3-4 days, and then you can see we skip a few days, and then around day 10, we'll send that how can I help email, okay? So on day 0, with the perfect welcome, what is it that we're trying to do here? Well, the real concept is that you only get one chance to make a first impression. Yes, it's a total cliche, but yes, it's really true. What are we trying to do? We want to introduce yourself, introduce your company. You want to align yourself with your new lead, okay? The way I describe things a lot of times to people is you're sort of like a trail guide, okay? But you've been on this trail for years, and here's your new hiker who you're going to show how to get up the mountain, okay? You're a Sherpa for them, okay? And that's a great way to align yourself with them. Instead of, it almost is saying that it's possible for anybody to become the expert. You don't have to hold yourself out as the smartest person in the room. As a matter of fact, it often can be a great approach to be very self-deprecating about things. I beat my head into the wall for years on this, but I figured it out. Now I can show you and save you a lot of time, money, everything like that, okay? So once you get that kind of a thing done, you then want to set expectations for, we're glad that you're here. Here's what you can expect from us. We send out our trading newsletter of what's going on in the markets every trading day. We do it in the morning. We do it after the close. We send out a weekly newsletter where we talk about how you can grow orchids better, or whatever it is that's your hook. Tell people exactly how often they're going to hear from you, okay? You want to also restate to them what the benefits are of kind of taking that first step to being a paid subscriber. You don't want to do it with a hammer. You're not trying to close them right there. You're telling them the benefit, but you're actually not asking them to do it. This is something that a lot of people have a lot of problems with. Why would I tell them their benefit of subscribing and then not give them a way to buy? It creates tension. Tension is a good thing. You want them to be coming after you, not you to be banging on their door. A lot of people just do not want to talk on the phone to a company anymore. They want to do all their research, figure things out for themselves, and then have them decide it's time to move forward. By creating your value proposition and talking to them about what the benefit is to them, what you're doing is you're creating that tension that needs a release but isn't given one yet, okay? Which is a really positive thing to have happen. We also want them to do a micro commitment, make a micro commitment. And what that is in this email most of the time is just having them whitelist your emails. Drag it to the priority inbox if they're on Gmail, something like that, so that your emails are going to get to their inbox. Okay, just that one little act of doing it can really change around the willingness that they have to read future emails. And it's a tiny little step that really doesn't mean very much in terms of what it costs them. It costs them nothing, but it's saying that your stuff is valuable to them. And so the degree to which you can get somebody to do that, it's really, really great. And then the final thing that you really want to do is just open a loop. Okay, what is a loop? Well, that's exactly what happens like on every soap opera or shows like 24 or things like that, where they get to the point where Jack Bauer is about to torture the terrorist or something, and then it goes to commercial. Okay, and you're like, what's going on with it? So you want to do that to people every time you can. If you can create that loop and that question of, and tomorrow we'll show you what happens when you do that, that is really where you're creating that tension and that ability to keep people opening the emails and coming back. Okay? So again, you're going to get that first commitment from you're making your first commitment to them. You're telling them what schedule it is that you're going to be talking to them on. They want to know where to start. You're giving them a little bit of context. You're telling them how to get the emails to their inbox, and then you're creating some anticipation of what's going to come tomorrow. All right? So I'm not going to go through, this is the template. I'm going to give these templates to all of you by at the end of the presentation, so you don't need to worry about trying to write any of this down or anything. I intentionally made it kind of fuzzy to so that you wouldn't focus too much on it. But the real keys to a lot of this is that this is something that you're just going to be able to copy and paste into your own email system. And it's going to be something that you'll have an example in front of you that you can just take and change into whatever your business is. And whoever you are personally, you want it to really sound like it's coming from you. You don't just want to implement whatever it is that I've slapped up there. Make it sound like it's coming from your voice, okay? And it's okay to play around with it. These things, a lot of times, the perfect is the enemy of the good. Just get something out there, okay? And I even have intentionally had misspellings and typos and things like that I've put in these things sometimes, just because it shows humanity to people. Things that are too perfect, too polished, they aren't as trustworthy to a lot of people as something that looks like it was just banged out and sent, okay? So, yeah, Dan can tell you all about this because I don't think I've gotten one email from him in 13 years that didn't have a typo. But so now we're on day one, the best of. And this is sort of alternative track one. We've got like a fork in the road here where we're either going to do a best of or we're going to do the bonding path, depending on whether you're a content creation machine or not, okay? So this follows the perfect welcome email. There could be one, there might be more than one email on this step. And what you're really trying to do is make sure you include whatever was in the PS of the welcome email. So the PS at the bottom of the welcome email is something that's going to say, tomorrow I'm going to send you these free gifts, that I want you to take a look at, and you're going to get this out of it, okay? So you want to make sure you actually do that in this email. If you say you're going to do something on day 0, on day 1, then make sure you actually follow through and deliver whatever that is. Okay, and this is really where you take content that you're proud of, content that people have told you and showed you by a number of times that they've read it, that it's something that's going to be valuable to them. And you can look at things like, if you're really good at your web analytics, you would be able to say, here are the people that are my paying subscribers. Let's only look at them. What are the most popular things that they read? So then you're really focusing in on the stuff that is valuable to the people who most often are the ones driving your business. So it's not just the entire interweb that's looking at your posts and whatever happens to have been the most popular. You're really looking at the people who buy, the people who stick around here, the people who have the most value to us, like this content. So leading others to that is going to create more customers like your best. And that's really the difference between working with the people you want to work with and the people that drive you crazy and drive your customer service team nuts and are constantly asking for chargebacks and things like that. You can reduce and almost eliminate a lot of that just by setting expectations right and making sure you're showing the best content that you can to the people who already have the characteristics of a future buyer. Okay. In the text, I am intentionally not showing the text of these emails because I want you to create them from the template for yourself. But in the middle of it, I say, like, we're going to give you 3 gifts. Okay, and today is the gift number 1. And you go through and you say, here's this article that we published that everybody likes that talks about, how to get started day trading or whatever it might be that you're doing. Okay. When you go through that and you explain the whole thing and you give them a link to read and everything, you're then going to end with a PS that says, you know what, I'm going to under promise and over deliver here. And I'm going to give you the second gift instead of tomorrow, right now. And it's in that first email. There's 2 reasons you do this. Number 1, you want to be delivering value in excess of their expectations whenever you can. But then the second thing is that we're then going to have tomorrow's email say, here's the 3rd gift. And it's going to mess with some people's heads because they're going to be saying, wait, where's number 2? I missed number 2 because they didn't actually read this email. Okay? So what you're going to try to do is just deliver very quickly, start that conversation with people, and get them to create another open loop by saying that you're going to get something else tomorrow. Okay? So now we're to the day 2, second part of best of, and this is where in the subject line you're going to mention that this is the 3rd gift. Okay? They won't find that number 2, like I said, because they'll be wondering, they're like, I know I got number 1, and here's number 3, and you actually want them going back in their inbox, looking around for number 2. Then when they come back to this one, it'll say, see, you actually have to read all of my emails to the bottom. So you're training them that your stuff is valuable and that a lot of times you'll bury goodies at the bottom. Okay, so it's just something that goes through things really well. You also say stuff to create social proof that others find things valuable. Things like saying, without a doubt, this is the most popular article of this sort on our website, or this is the topic that everybody wants to know about, or anything that might be like that. And you actually do not want to say this is the best anything, because that sets people's BS detectors off. They're like, no, it's not. It's, I always think of Will Ferrell and Elf, that it's the world's greatest cup of coffee. Congratulations. No, it's not the best. But this is something that lots of other people have. It's very popular. There's a lot of people who engage with it. That's a very believable thing. That's a statistical thing. It's something that you can prove. Okay, so I think that, by saying, you do that and then you kind of tell them, so I know you'll love it too. After, you say, here's this thing, and this is one of the most popular things that we've got. I know you'll love it too, that's telling them you're going to love it. It's a command. It's something that you're establishing yourself as an authority to them. And it's just supposed to be a quick, short email. Okay, this is the shortest of the series. They might not even need to scroll down. Okay? So that's, if we were doing the best of, we literally would just pause right now for a few days until the how can I help you comes out. Okay? If you are not doing the best of, the bonding emails would just go into days 1 and 2. All right? There are situations where somebody wants to stack both the best of and then do the bonding campaign with them to try to make a more personal connection. I'll leave that up to you if you want to or not, but if you decide to stack them up, what you want to do is look at what's happening to your open rate on those emails as you go. And if you're seeing a big drop off, I'd suggest you either remove that or maybe pull the bonding campaign out and maybe deliver it, a week or 2 out. Okay, come back to it later. But you want to be careful because you usually will have some product or some other sequence that you might be delivering when somebody comes into the database that it could be something that is overwhelming their inbox if you've got a lot of emails coming in. If they're getting a daily newsletter from you, for example, they've got all those emails coming in and then you're sending them one of these every day too. It can just get to be a little bit much after about 4 or 5 days, so you just want to be a little bit careful about that. So what the bonding campaign does, this is, again, the alternative to the best of. This is designed to follow immediately after the perfect welcome. And if you don't produce a lot of content, like I said, this is something that you want to use. And this might be where you say something that is a engagement with them. The example I have here is, the number one reason to write a book? Because you've got something that you want to say, or something like that. You want to come up with something that is a engagement with them that is about a topic that you're going to provide some value on. Okay, it's also a good place for you to put a stake in the ground and to say, this is where our flag is. We can't stand that. Okay, if you're teaching people how to trade 6 times every day, then you probably are going to take a stand and say, I think that long-term trading or long-term investing is ridiculous. I can't stand Susie Orman, whatever it is. Okay, you can make fun of things here. It's a good thing by pushing away the people who are not your buyers. You make the people who are your buyers say, that's my crowd. Those are my people. I want to be doing more with those people because they feel the same way I do. I can't stand those books of hers, and I want to be, with these guys that are, having a good time, figuring out how to trade more actively. Whatever it is, you want to have them know what it is that you stand for. Don't be plain vanilla, be hot sauce instead. Okay? So by putting something like congratulations in the subject line, people don't get complimented a lot, especially not by family, friends, things like that. We're all kind of a little rough on each other. Congratulating somebody usually makes the deliverability really high, usually makes the open rate very, very high. So, and here's the other thing that really is kind of interesting is that who compliments you? Who congratulates you? Who are the people that tell you you're doing a great job? They're usually authority figures in your life. Your priest, your rabbi, your teachers, everybody, a coach. All of the people who tend to be the ones saying you're doing a great job there are the people who have authority. So if you compliment people as they're coming into your database, you're also establishing yourself as an authority, as an expert, as somebody who can evaluate whether or not they're doing a good job. Okay, so try to be very complimentary of the people who are coming in. And then talk about what it is that your subscribers, what your best customers want. It's not, they aren't looking for a thing. They're looking for an outcome. They're not looking for the best trading software in the world. They're looking for more money in their bank account. Okay, they're not looking for diet pills. They want to lose weight. All right, so talk to them about what it is that they're ultimately looking for, because that's, again, aligning with them and saying, I understand you. Okay? So after you've sent that first email to them, by this point, they're opening your messages for a few days in a row. They recognize your name. What I say when I'm saying teach a key lesson from the video, most of the time in this email, I'll have a video clip that I'm putting in the body of the email. That, of course, it might go to YouTube or your own website somewhere to watch it or whatever. But a lot of times, this can be something that's your own video and your own content, but it doesn't have to be. I've had a lot of clients who are very shy about being on video and really don't feel comfortable in front of the camera and that kind of stuff. And for a bunch of them, they would take little speeches of people like Steve Jobs or something that was really inspirational, and then they would, in the email, just tie back to how that applies to their business and to their customer. Okay, so you can play around with this a lot, but there's also a PS at the bottom of this that will be the same concept as what you do if you're doing the best of campaign. You use those PSs at the bottom to open that loop and go to the next email. Okay? So now we're to the end of the series, the how can I help you part. And what this really is designed to do, we talked about it a little bit, is just to get more in depth as to why did this person join your email list. You directly ask them, what is it that made you want to get this from me? What made you want to learn it? If you do it right, they will actually tell you exactly what it is that they are looking for and exactly how it is that you can sell them. Okay, sometimes that literally, you can create like people responding back. You just say, hit reply to this email, and make sure you actually check that inbox. It should actually be your email address, okay, or whoever it is. You want this to be something where they feel like they've got direct access to the person in your company, which I assume is all of you. If it was trade ideas, I would say this one comes from Dan. This one comes from Jamie. It comes from somebody who's going to be their point of contact, the person that they are looking to understand where this all comes together, okay? And it should be very conversational. Okay. The other thing I would say is when you're working on your template here, don't sound corporate. This should be the kind of conversation you would have with somebody that you bumped into at a Starbucks who was sort of a friend or something. All right, very conversational, very loose. You want that because you want people to really feel like they've got that emotional connection with you, even though this is all done by email. Okay. If you do not want to respond to people, if you do not want to get into an email thread back and forth with somebody where you might send 3 or 4 emails with them, don't use this template, okay? This is something you use if you want to talk to your customers, okay? If you've got so many coming in that you can't possibly respond to this, don't have it just go to customer service and have customer service responding, with a ticket system or something like that. Just don't do this, all right? But this is a really great place to do things like say, you can reach me on Twitter, here's my account, just send me a message there, I check it all the time, whatever it might be. You want to give them something where they can really sink in their teeth and know how to get a hold of you and feel like you're approachable and feel like, boy, these guys are really different than what I'm used to seeing from other companies, okay? And then if they do reach out to you on Twitter and ask something, give them a shout out back. Say, I'd like to thank, at Joe or whoever it is that sends you a message. People freak out that they get, praised for sending you something. Hey, great question from Joe today. We're happy to have you at Trade Ideas. That kind of a thing really does make people happy. I personally don't really understand that, but they get real excited when you shout out to them. Okay, so we covered almost all of this, but we don't really recommend stacking both the bonding and the best of. I'd pick one or the other. But as I would say about anything, test it for yourself. See what works best. Keep it as short as you can, 3 to 5 days, and you want to condition people that they're going to get stuff from you all the time. You can't email people too much at this point. You really want to be giving them lots of little messages. And just experiment with things. The things that tell you whether or not it's working is if you have big spikes up or down in your open rates, your click rates, are they doing more with this? If you see a 15% drop off in your open rate, you probably want to swap out that email for something else, okay? And if you did decide you wanted to stack it up, just as one example here, you could do the welcome email, then maybe the bonding for maybe 1 day, maybe 2, then show the best of, and then you could ultimately end up a few days later with the how can I help email. Okay, but really it's designed to be either or in the middle there. Okay, so how are you going to go back and implement this week to try to make your list perform better, your business perform better, and get more sales coming in the door? Okay, do you want to get the emails now? All right, pull out your phones, and what we're going to do is if you send a text to that number with 16 welcome in the body, it'll reply back to you and ask you for your email address, and then it'll get started. If you have your computer in front of you, you could also just go to 16w.co/AC. Okay? I'll give you a minute to get those numbers copied down. So, and yes, I'm doing this on purpose because I'm figuring that a bunch of you probably do some live speaking and that kind of thing. Being able to opt in by text makes your lead capture significantly more effective. All right, you're not trying to drive somebody to a landing page on their phone that maybe they go, maybe they don't, maybe they get upset that it takes too long to load, whatever it is. But by having it be text, your capture rate usually ends up being about twice as high. Okay, yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Skip, back to where people are checking their click rates and stuff like that, is that all within like a MailChimp or?
Yeah, most of the time, the statistics on how an email is performing is going to be in the email service provider that you have. If it's in MailChimp, if it's in Infusionsoft, if it's in ActiveCampaign or something else, the reports tab will usually show you that. The reason that I generally would say that a campaign like this is best executed in a marketing automation platform like ActiveCampaign or Infusionsoft is because that's where you can set up an automation or a workflow where then every lead that comes in, the same thing happens to it, okay? The other thing that is really a good idea that is not part of this, but I'll mention it because Tim Borkin is here from After Offers, is a lot of times if you're buying advertising to drive people into your lead magnet and you're trying to acquire leads for a certain price, maybe you want to get leads for $3 or $4 a piece or even under that, what you can do is after somebody's asked for that lead magnet, you can put a co-registration offer after it, like Tim's, that will usually, when somebody opts in to get a couple of offers, pay you a few bucks for them to opt into these other things, and it can lower your net cost of acquisition sometimes significantly. If it costs me $2.50 to get a lead, and they opt in for, say, 2 offers, and Tim pays me $1 for that, I can put that right back into my advertising and end up getting more and more leads and move more people through the machine. So the higher velocity that you're able to bring these leads in, the better. Okay, and if you want to talk about that, we can do that at the break or something, and just find me or Tim is in the back of the room there too.
What are you going to send us?
Pardon me?
What are you going to send us?
The actual templates of the emails for you to implement into your email autoresponders. Okay? So to answer your question here, you're going to get these templates that's going to give you 2 different alternatives here. The first is that on the left side, you can download the Google Docs, take them, put them into your email service providers. then make the edits that you want to do, and get that all tested out and everything like that. Or if you end up deciding to go down the path of doing a trial of ActiveCampaign if you want to, I've arranged with them to do a 14-day free trial. If you do that path, my team will set up all the templates and the workflow and everything like that in your ActiveCampaign account. And then all you'll need to do is just edit it right there. It'll take you probably about 10 minutes per email to get it set the way you want. Okay. And if there is any trouble or anything like that that you need some help with, just email me directly. My email's skip@16wells.com. So you can reach me there. I will make these slides available to everybody as well. Why don't we say this? The slides, because I know we've got some people watching remote and everything like that, I'll put them at 16w.co/trade-ideas. Okay? So again, my email is skip@16wells.com, and that's my cell phone too. If you have any other marketing problems, issues, things that you'd like to work on, or just questions about how something works, feel free to shoot me an email, give me a call at any time. Happy to help all of you out. I've really loved working with Trade Ideas, and these guys are great friends of mine, and thanks for having me here today. All right? Good to meet you.